Hey again! Welcome to part 2 of creating an OnlyUp game in Bonfire. OnlyUp is a 3D platformer that's trending right now, where the goal is to climb as high as possible without falling. In this video, we're continuing by adding the stacked houses after the boulders. Then I'll show you how to spawn the goats when you reach the roof of the house. Let's start with the houses. Head over to the Spark browser and you'll find the Sparks, or assets, in the Low Poly Village Houses folder. Just pick any house that feels right for your scene. Now, let's add the houses. Just like the boulders in part 1, it's as simple as dragging and dropping them into the map explorer. Pick some houses, reposition, and scale them to fit. Here's a quick time lapse of me moving the houses around. But don't worry, there's no pressure to follow this exact layout. Feel free to have fun with it and set them up in your own unique way. The cool part about this is that there's no right or wrong. It's all about making the game your own. Let's give this a quick test. I'm going to jump over the houses to make sure the height is just right. We want the player to be able to jump across without any problems. Great, the height is perfect. Now, let's move on to spawning the 3 goats. In the gameplay video, once the player reaches the roof, 3 goats will appear. To set this up in your own game, we'll use Bonfire behaviors to create the logic that makes the goats spawn when the player gets to the roof. In Bonfire, behaviors are used to control how objects react to actions. A cause is what triggers the reaction, and an effect is what happens. For example, when a player walks near a goat, that's the cause. The goat appearing or disappearing would be the effect. This allows you to create interactive experiences where objects respond to the player's actions. To replicate this, first, let's grab the goat spark from Low Poly folder, then Animals. Just drag and drop it into the map explorer. Now we want the goat to appear when the player passes through a specific area, just like in the gameplay video. For that, we'll need to use a trigger spark. Let's add a trigger to the map. Go to Sparks, then Environment folder, then drag and drop the trigger spark onto the map explorer. With the trigger spark in place, select it and go to the Behaviors tab. In the drop-down list, find Collided Cause and click the plus sign. Now let's do the same for the goat spark. Select the goat, then head over to the Behavior tab. In the Effects dropdown, look for Modify, and add it to the Behaviors window. Our goal here is simple. When the player touches the invisible trigger, the goat spark becomes visible. To make that work, we'll initially hide the goat. To do that, select the goat, and you'll see its traits on the right side. Uncheck the Is Visible box to hide the goat. Now, let's link the cause and effect. Set the trait into Is Visible, then check the bool value in the Modify effect of the spark to True. This way, when the trigger spark is collided with, the goat spark becomes visible. Now, let's hit play and test it out. Remember, once you press play, all behaviors are active and waiting for interaction. Move the player through the trigger spark and check if the goat spark appears. Awesome. Now let's stop play mode and add 2 more goats, like in Bonfire OnlyUp. I'll speed up the process and align each goat with each other in this video. Just add 2 more goat sparks and position them wherever you want. And I'll also go ahead and add their effects. To make them appear one by one, we'll add a delay modifier. So, goat 1 will appear, then after a 1-second delay, goat 2 will appear, and after another second, the final goat will show up. Don't forget to check the Is Visible for each goat effect modifier, and also hide the goat by unchecking the Is Visible in the Traits window. Now let's hit play and see what we have created. Perfect. Now that we have the behavior in place, I want to challenge you to apply the same logic we use to your actual game. Don't forget to save your project or book. Everything's coming together nicely. See you in the next video, where we'll add the meat elevator and orange boulders.